Greetings everyone, Rambling Collector here, and welcome back for another book review. So for this one here, we're going to be once more diving into the works of Anastasia, whom, if you've been following my channel for a while, you will see that I've covered a lot of her works, ranging from Exile of the Sky God to Fluorescence, as well as the Poe Prophecies series, which that will be the subject of today's video, because, as of recently, I got my hands on Book 3 of Poe Prophecies here, that being Mask of the Red Death. So, just to be able to gush about the author for a second, I love her works so far that I've read. And in saying that, I've read nearly all of them at this point. Nearly all the series, I say. I currently am reading her series of the Fates of Flame duology. I don't know if there's more of that. There may be, but I'm very excited to be talking about that one in the near future. As well as Fluorescence was one of her first works that I've read. Amazingly well done. Same with Exile of the Sky God. I love some of the themes that she tackles, ranging from Egyptian mythology to space aliens. Hell, she's even got vampires and children's books to look at too, so she's covered a wide variety. But Poe Prophecies is definitely becoming an interesting series. As of the time of recording here, the author is currently up to about 8 books in total for this series, and I'm only on book 3. So, needless to say, I've got a lot of catching up to do. But, just to be able to talk about Mask of the Red Death here for a second. This one picks up directly after the ending of book 2, The Black Cat, where it talks about how Aiden has discovered that his cousin is in fact a member of the organization known as the Disbelievers. Now, to give a little bit of context, the Disbelievers in the Poe Prophecies universe are a group dedicated to essentially discrediting and completely tearing down the legend of Poe, or as a legendary prophet, in the sense that Edgar Allan Poe was the prophet, with a lot of his works being studied by those who go to Poe Academy, who study his works to be able to see if they can decipher any future incantations, spells, or even future visions. And over the course of the first 2 books, we discover that Edgar Allan Poe left a message that showcases that he was in fact murdered or assassinated, and a lot of the blame goes towards the Disbelievers. And of course, it's hard not to see that with the Disbelievers, especially since we get a lot more focus upon them here in book 3. We even see what could be described as a recruitment hall for them, for the Disbelievers. And quite frankly, it's actually fairly interesting in what exactly they do, because their whole MO, by discrediting Poe, is to break incantations or spells that are located within the Edgar Allan works. They do this in order to make them unusable and therefore discredit the prophet. At least that's just one part of it that I can assume from reading from book 3. But more than that, Aiden really does go through a lot in this book, because for one thing, he has to deal with the fact that one of his own family is a member of the organization that is trying to tear down an author that he has followed and been inspired by for pretty much all of his life, that his parents are a major fan of, that he is currently studying to become a prophet, and knowing for the fact that the enemy is right under his nose in his own home, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow, especially when they try to investigate the Disbelievers. And frankly, I am not going to lie, the fact that they were hiding inside of an old video store, like an old video rental store, for the recruitment hall, is a stroke of genius in my mind. Just where else would you think to look for a group dedicated to tearing down an author than in an old video rental store? Like, come on. But either way, one thing I really do appreciate about Poe Prophecies is the fact that all the books are actually fairly small. I don't have Black Cat or the Raven on me to provide a clear example, but just from this one alone, it's at least under 200 pages, making it for a very quick and very fast-paced read, which is something myself and quite a few other readers could appreciate, because let's face it, In the world of today, sometimes it's very hard to sit down with a much larger book, unless you're actually making time to do so, as well as having the mental energy to do so as well. But this alone, I feel, does make it a lot easier to get into the series, and it actually makes for very fun collecting because they don't take up too much shelving space, and honestly, seeing all the different colors the different cover arts are in for Poe Prophecies, you'll be ending up making a whole rainbow from just the books alone. And frankly, I am very tempted. Let's put it that way. But overall, there was a lot of good world building within here, as well as a surprising twist that I was not expecting. And believe me, I'll actually be making a funny little short on that here sometime in the near future. Wait to see on that. I promise you it is going to be a little funny, especially to anyone who has read the Poe Prophecies, and you will understand. But overall, I will say one thing that I do enjoy as well is the different types of magic that is shown here, because in one particular case, it also shows the dangers of studying Poe's works, because in one case here, an advanced student winds up suddenly losing their memories after studying one of Poe's works and finding an incantation that somehow backfires on them and erases all their academy training in one swoop. So that alone can show just how dangerous studying the works of Poe can be. That if you are not mentally prepared or are not careful, there can be consequences. And in fact, this is actually shown when Anastasia, one of the other main characters here, winds up losing sight in one of her eyes while being able to decipher incantations a lot more easily. It means that forever, for the rest of her life, she'll have to walk around half blind with an eye patch, just to hide her now blinded eye. This is one thing that I really appreciate when it comes to certain magic systems, especially for how advanced they can be, and showing that despite all the great power that can be promised, there's always a cost or consequences when you're studying these types of advanced magics. And let's face it, future sight or predictions and stuff like that is always a very tumultuous branch of magic. There's always the chance that something could go wrong, the chances of insanity, and that's all with just divination type magic. And the fact that they're studying the works of someone known as the Prophet only highlights the dangers of that. But which is why Aiden and Anissa continuing on their quest makes them all the better as characters for them wanting to not only preserve the works of Poe, as well as figure out how exactly he was murdered, but also trying to stop the disbelievers at every turn. And seeing how they take a good front row seat for a bit in this book, it really highlights just how dangerous of an organization they are. Overall, though, would I recommend Poe Prophecies' Mask of the Red Death? Absolutely. And I personally really want to grab the next 2 or 3 of this series, just to see how far the story is going to go. Because when I was speaking to the author, when I was meeting them at a local convention, they were telling me that throughout the whole rest of the series going forward, it's going to be rising action, rising action, rising action, all the way towards the climax for the whole entire series. Me personally, I want to find out what they're talking about. So, overall, yes, I would recommend Mask of the Red Death, especially if you are either a new reader to the series, or if you are a returning reader. I guarantee there's something in here for everyone, especially if you're a fan of young adult works, and want something a little bit on the smaller side when it comes to book length. But that's just my personal thoughts and opinions, and I'd like for you all to form your own. And do let me know if you've read this book down in the comment section below. I'd love to be able to converse with you all on it and talk more about it and just generally nerd out about this amazing story. But I believe that's all the time I've got for today. But if you did like this video, feel free to leave a like, tell me your thoughts down below, subscribe if you're interested for more, and if you want to see some of the other indie authors that I've covered, I will leave a link to that playlist here at the end of the video, or if you want to see some of the other books that I've covered, feel free to check out that playlist as well. I guarantee there's something in there for everybody. You won't be bored, I can promise you that, And who knows, some of them could be good discussion topics. You might agree with me, or you might disagree. Either way, I'm always up for a good talk about literature. Needless to say, thank you so much for watching if you've stuck around to the end of this video. Well, have a great day, fellow readers, and I'll see you all in the next one.